India's DeepSeek movement. A startup in Bangalore has created voice AI, which is better than Siri, which is better than Alexa, which is better than the voice AI created by OpenAI, which has put $1 billion plus in voice AI. It is the only voice AI in the world which is closest to the human voice. It has sentiments, it has emotions, and it has been created in India by just about $1 million spent. Now, अब अगर 144 करोड़ इंडियन ने इसके ढोल नगारे बजाए होते तो ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर्स को डर लगता कि आर वी मिसिंग समथिंग इन इंडिया. बट यहाँ पे तो हम लोगों को बता रहे हैं कि भाई ल्यूना का नाम सुना है क्या, एंड लोग डाउट करते हैं कि आप जो बोल रहे हो वो सच है क्या. On my, when I came to know about it, there were 200 YouTube video views of Luna. When I tweeted, it has gone up to some 500 views. So, to cut the long story short, conviction आपकी knowledge में से आएगी और conviction आपकी wisdom से आएगी. If you can find entrepreneurs like Luna, you will have conviction. If not, then you will keep on swinging when DeepSeek comes. You are betting upon entrepreneurs, you are betting upon promoters. That is the growth story of India. अभी like rare earth की आपने बात की. There is a startup in Bangalore which has created motors without rare earth. जो लोग चाइनीज रेयर अर्थ की वाहवाही कर रहे हैं उसे आज तक ये नहीं मालूम पड़ा है कि about 35% of Chinese rare earth actually come from Myanmar. It's not Chinese rare earth at all. It's mined out of Myanmar, and through clandestine smuggling, it goes to China. In any other part of the world, COVID would have been called Wuhan virus, and Chinese rare earth would have been called Myanmar rare earth. But they have the power of perception. We Indians lack self-esteem. So यहाँ पे voice AI ल्यूना खड़ी हो गई, but conviction नहीं आएगा. The day all of us can get that conviction which Saurav Ganguly got in taking the T-shirt out on Lord's balcony, तब सबका conviction आ जाएगा.
Just to add to what Nilesh is saying is, see, tariff is something, it's a problem of them actually. Where from the tariff also has come. What India went through, say 10 years back, government was funding the entire growth through borrowings. India's fiscal deficit was high. And most of us being in the market for the last 30 years, 32 years, हमेशा we used to say the two big problem for India is the twin deficit. And दोनों twin deficit आज के दिन गायब हो गए, which is your fiscal deficit as well as current account deficit, दोनों गायब हो गए. So which is a big progress that India has made. A country which is a progressive nature, now we also equally paid attention on the how we should manage the fiscal. Whereas US has been funding the growth. Their economy is growing, the stock market is doing well. They have created a lot of companies like Magnificent Seven and all kind of things. Simultaneously they also created deficit. So US is the only country that is running in deficit. World has been investing in them. Now suddenly Trump is realizing how to actually reverse this. Therefore he is going after whole nations, including themselves. It's not about they hitting India or China. Within US also is equally tough when it comes to the question of how to get money back into the country. His aim is to get $2 trillion deficit उनको कम करना है. That's what I think he's doing. So he's doing all his best. From India point of view, I think Nilesh mentioned about Luna. I'll also give another example which Government of India has created. Nobody else has created. It is Government of India Electronic and Communication Ministry has created this, which is called Bhashini. The Bhashini today is available in entire country. It converts about 22 languages. Is being used by agriculturists. Is used by for weather forecast. It also used by many of the tech companies to convert their, if they speak in Tamil, it will be converted in English. If you speak in Hindi, it will be converted in English. So this Bhashini is actually being used, is not well known, but is well known at the rural area. So that's something I've done. Second is, historically whenever I have seen, whenever we are put to the corner, we always comes back with strong conviction. And that's something I think we are at a stage where, but for the tariff, maybe we would have thought that India is going great gun and so on and so forth. We would have probably taken a bit of backseat from faster growth aiming point of view. I think the tariff is something, is now making the India to think something different. As latest as WhatsApp equivalent, which is being created, Aratai.
Yes.
So I'm sure some of you, in Tamil, Aratai means sitting on the bench and then keep chatting with each other and waste your time types. So in Tamil actually it's called, where is the fellow Aratai Chandruka? So that's what we always used to say. That's all nice word has been given, Aratai now has come, which is the Indian WhatsApp. I'm sure this will gain momentum as we start promoting it. Not only actually India made goods, even India made services, which is as good as Facebook what they provide, as good as what Google provides. So this I think will be a game changer for India, just the beginning of the next big journey, I would say.
No, absolutely, Bala and Nilesh. I think our journey from fragile 5, about 12 years back to where we are, while somebody may call it a dead economy on truth, social media, supposedly that is supposed to speak the truth, but, they call a dead economy, which delivers, close to 7% growth rate. But yeah, you're right. I think we just need to have our conviction in our own innovation and our own staying power and our frugalness. We've done it in space tech, we've done it in IT, and I'm sure we'll do it in multiple other sectors. I think I'll just try and also bring in here that Hyderabad is home to a lot of pharmaceutical listed companies, large pharmaceutical listed companies, and that's what I think we can quickly talk about. I think till the early part of when the tariffs were getting implemented, there was a sense of relief that pharma may be kept out of all of this tariff drama, right? And the argument was that if US tries to tinker with this, it will become too expensive for them to manage this, and it will hurt them, at the core of healthcare. But somehow, I think the recent developments are that they are bitten into it. So, what is your view? How this will play out for Indian pharma sector?
Hyderabad has the highest number of US FDA approved factories than any other region in the world. And if we see President Trump, he has levied tariff on the branded products. Very few Indian companies are in that space. And one or two companies which are there, they are already making it in US, so they are exempt out of this. Second, the purpose of levying tariffs on branded product was more negotiation leverage than actually tariff. Companies have announced their investment plan and then they have been exempted from the branded tariffs. Countries which had agreement with US, they also have been exempted. So at least at this point of time, there's no impact on Indian pharma companies. But with President Trump, you can never say what happens. Dawn film का एक dialogue था, Dawn को समझना मुश्किल ही नहीं, नामुमकिन भी है. That is applicable to President Trump. So can he do something like hitting tariffs on Indian pharma company? It's quite likely. What will be the consequences? One, in US, there are 3 large distributors of pharma product. You can't walk into chemist shop and get prescription products. The doctor sends prescription to chemist and chemist dispenses to you. So these 3 companies make a lot of money. Now, on generic product, if the tariffs are levied, quite likely that bulk of it will be paid by the distributor margin rather than manufacturer's cost. Third, there are many medicines which are running short of supply in US. And do you want to really make medicine in short supply by levying tariff on it, by disrupting supply chain? So about a year back, not year back, but about 8 months back, I was sitting in a conference where US Consular General of Mumbai was also present. And an American came and said that I'm eating omelette in India. So everyone was wondering, like, is omelette such a rarity in US that he had to praise Indian omelette? Well, the fact was that because of supply chain disruption, 12 eggs were costing $14 in Florida, and the eggs were rationed by the departmental stores. Okay. So even if you had money, you could not have still bought eggs. Now this hitherto was unbelievable, but when you tinker with trade, these things can happen. So my feeling, one, as of today, there is no impact. But one can never say anything about President Trump. If he puts tariff, a large cost will be absorbed by distributor's margin, not manufacturer. And the shortages of medicine will push Trump to do what he does the best. Trump always chickens out.
No, I think that taco thing is quite interesting. And it makes me sometimes wonder that have we been caught in the crossfire where he was getting bullied online, and to prove the bullies wrong, he's said, okay, this time I will not chicken out.
Of course, he changes so fast. Yeah. He'll give something in the morning and the evening. He's one person who can reverse it. Yeah. Therefore, if you start acting seriously for everything that he does, there is high probability that you look like a fool and you look like a winner. Therefore, this is something you have to watch out. This is a new regime. Most of the international gurus even have said that this is something new regime, never seen in the last number of years. So this is something we cannot take any kind of prediction. We cannot even take a call that this will happen. Given the fact that, as everybody mentioned about the chicken very fast, this is something we'll have to see. Second is, I think what Nilesh mentioned about the pharma side, I think we are integral part of the pharma industry is there, leave aside the country. Most of the pharmaceutical companies, large companies in US, they all have their outsourced API agent in India. So therefore, we are part of the integral part. The moment tariff comes, there is no much choice but to increase the prices. At the same time, it is for them to figure it out whether they should pass it on to the consumers or they absorb it. So which company actually will absorb this hike in tariff? They will pass it on to the consumer. The moment pass it on the consumer is actually inflation increasing. So therefore, these are some of the things which you do not know. But that's why most of the Indian pharma companies, at this point of time, they are keeping it cool because they are, in any case, part of their arm, the external arm of most of the US companies in India, they are operating rather than as independent companies.
Sure. So I'm going to shift the discussion to something which is, integral more to asset management and the views that, let's say, our asset management industry as a whole was carrying. So while we were all positioning ourselves for China plus one in our portfolios, but FIs were busy, pulling money out of India and deploying dollars in Chinese equity. And now we have their holdings at all-time low levels of Indian equity. What are they thinking and what is prompting these decisions is what we wanted to understand from you.
So I think from mutual fund point of view, I think people have realized the power of investing in mutual fund. I think there are 2-3 ways in which I look at it. The first bull run on the mutual fund came when people realized keeping cash at home is of no value. This is during demand time. I'm sure all of us would have realized keeping the money in the bank account actually is more safer than keeping in the cash. That was the first turnaround time. I think in 2016-17, when the demand happened, so a lot of people came to the banking industries. That is time, if you look back, most of the people, the citizens of the country, they understood how the digital transfer can also happen. It created huge awareness. Second is post-COVID. And post-COVID, when the government took somewhat of serious steps to ensure that Indian economy doesn't suffer. Some of the radical decisions, some of the unprecedented decisions were taken during the COVID time, which is nothing but giving guarantee for any borrower from the banks. It's called SMEs, I call it SMEs. When they go to the bank for borrowing pre-COVID and post-COVID, if you look at it, pre-COVID, whatever the banks ask you or whatever we all as a lender codes, that's the rate. It could be in the excess of about 14-15% for borrowing cost. Borrowing cost is very, very high. Post-COVID, because given the fact that government has been guaranteeing up to say 10% or 15% of the borrowing, then most of the banks started actually dealing with them. Therefore, your ability to assess that who is a good borrower, who is a bad borrower, also got established for COVID. Yeah. And third, of course, is this the way the markets have moved up. So during this period, the last 10 years, the mutual funds created a huge impact in terms of creating wealth for the Indian investors. And the third is actually the fourth is about interest rate cut. I think during COVID time, interest rates were cut and the interest rates came to one of the lowest level. And today, if you go and actually if you look at any bank deposits, you get only so much return. But ultimately, you are here at not so much return. You also have to get return which in excess of, say, your cost of living. Excess of cost of living. That's why I think the SAP as an asset class now has become the way of life. Therefore, this is going to be a permanent shift that we are seeing in the investors' behavior. I think this will continue. But of course, one comes in with a lot of expectation of return. I think one should also be careful that people have generated huge amount of return for a brief period of time. And if you think that same return will get replicated throughout this period of time, it may or may not happen. Each economy go through a different stage of their own way of market functions. Going by that, while one may not get the same return, but SAP investing, I think, will become the larger. The way I see is mutual fund industry is now becoming as big as the banking industry. We all used to only say, and we all, I think, for 30 years would have only made Indian industry will become larger than the banking industry. And both of us sitting in this place, we would have failed in predicting how the size of the market would become. And today it has become a reality because there is a TINA factor which happens. There is nothing but there is no alternate to equity kind of things. That's the way I think the TINA factor plays a role. This also now is becoming. So this something, I think the narrative got changed. In the pre-2017, if you go overseas and meet with people, and even Indian investors also when you meet with people, they all used to ask, when would FIIs stop investing types? And today, that question doesn't arise. So today, I think when they'll only ask, when will the flow in India will stop, then we can come in. The narrative got changed. Completely, the table got shifted. This, in my view, will remain permanent. I think structurally, mutual fund, savings through the mutual funds becoming the larger. Which is what I think one of the questions that we have is the capital. Today, mutual funds are provided the biggest capital in the Indian capital market. And most of the companies are today doing very well. The Indian mutual funds have been not only buying the equity, they are also giving a debt. Therefore, balance sheet became more and more stronger. And this is never seen in the last so many number of years. So therefore, this is actually a new era for the next 10, 15 years. You will see this industry becoming as large as the banking industry. The second largest industry probably I would say next to the bank would be mutual fund. Maybe over a 15-year period, this will become the largest industry the way US has moved.
Sure. Nilesh bhai, anything, your views on, would FIs start looking at India favorably anytime soon or?
So in the near term, it looks like FPIs will be probably looking to exit India. And they have their reasons. One, last 5 quarters, our earnings growth has been single digit. 1 year return has been negative. Our valuation is on the higher side compared to peer group, compared to our historical premium to peer group. And there is worry on US tariff. So this is the reason why they have been selling for some time. And their holding today is at decadal low. Now we need some trigger for them to reverse. One trigger could be US tariff deal. If Trump साहब मूड में है, आज tariff deal हो गई, तो कल relief rally आ सकती है. The second will have to deliver to justify that premium valuation. Now, right now, we haven't, our earnings growth has to go to double digit, which is more like FY27 expectation rather than FY26. So again, if earnings growth accelerates faster, then will FPIs come back? Quite likely. And third, we have to pray that other people falters. Like if China is up 40% in last 1 year, of course some money will go to them. So maybe over next 3 to 6 months, till such time tariff deal happens, earnings growth come through, and other markets starts underperforming because they have already run up a lot. FPIs could neglect India. But on a longer term basis, will they neglect India? Answer is no. You are underweight the fastest growing major economy. You are underweight an economy where investors have actually made money. And there is potential. And there is strong participation. So, longer term FPIs will come back. Shorter term, Ayaram, Gayaram.
No, I think rightly put, both of you. I think what is important is that there is that trigger, and I think government realized that, and quickly, we've had some massive stimulus on, GST rate rationalization, on income tax, rejig, so on and so forth. And hopefully that, corporate earning growth will start picking up. I'm going to, put a difficult question to you now. I'm just leveling or increasing the level of difficulty or uncomfortable questions to you. But I think now I can do that. So you mentioned, Bala, that retail flows through SIPs have been very resilient and have grown also significantly from what they were, let's say, 2-3 years back. But earlier this year, there was a bit of a scare, right? There was Shankar Sharma, writing a piece saying how India created a generation of brainwashed investors and the macro disaster this has created. And then another, very significant CIO next month mentioned that he doesn't believe that SIPs in mid and small cap should be done at this point in time. I think 9 months have passed since then. We've seen the results. What is your take on SIPs across large, mid, small in Indian equities?
So I think it's mentioned about one of the market investor. When was the time he never had made any statement which is more advocating people to invest money? So never actually. Because sometimes people are, they have their own way of looking at things. But I think the SIP is only animal which is agnostic to the market. So agnostic to the views on market. Agnostic to the market cap. SIP is something, over time we have been successful in telling people SIP you are investing actually for a long-term wealth purpose, long-term goal purpose. Whatever the goal that everybody has got, only for the SIP you are investing. SIP, of course, one of the area where it may fail is the volatility. Say, rupee cost averaging is another way of looking at SIP. If there is less of volatility, then that much of peaks and troughs I think you are not able to capture it. To the extent you may expect that SIP may not give the same return as we done in the past. I think whenever the huge volatility is there, your money get invested at every fall and every rise, therefore you are able to average in your return. That's the only thing which could be missing. But otherwise, if it is a long term, the SIP is something will always remain. There will be a period, we must also remember, there will be a period, because market is always never in the one side up. It's never been a bull market cycle forever. Every 3 years go through a bull market cycle. Every 2.5-3 years will go through a bear market cycle. When I mean bear market, it will remain either flat or may even fall, but even bounces back. I think what remains permanent is actually where long term, the trend is always remain upward. That's why we would have never predicted 85,000 index will come. So we never been predicting that 80,000 index will come. Now we will see, of course, it will become 1 lakh index, because now it will become more like easily predictable, because things are now, you can read it, you can see it. So that's why structures are changing. Therefore, SIP is something one should not worry about if the return doesn't come, because it's an investment that you are making for the long-term purpose. Second, from a valuation point of view, For every time market goes through cycles. When the large cap does well, mid cap doesn't do well. If the mid cap does well, large cap doesn't do well. There's a cycle in which you go through. But if you look at the market, if you look at the market, the way that it has been designed, there are only about 50 companies who represent, or maybe 100 companies represent the large cap. Whereas India has got about 5,500 companies listed in the equity space. There are almost about 300 companies is called as a mid cap. And the rest of the companies are called as a small cap. The last few years, Indian capital market structure completely got changed. I think from the past where the entire market is driven by only about 100 companies, today there are many companies also now participating in the wealth effect creations. And the smaller the size, it gives a higher the wealth. Or of course, it also comes the actually higher risk. This is something one has to understand. The way I always see is, irrespective of calling it as whether we should invest in mid cap, or small cap, or large cap, the time period for which one is making investment should be longer. If it's large cap, you can say 3 to 5 years. If it's a small cap, it has to be 7 years plus. So if you give the longer time frame, is something you will be able to reap the benefit which otherwise the true potential of this market gives you. Therefore, this is something I think one has to keep in mind. That's why we keep advocating all the times. And what makes the investors the best is focus on asset allocation rather than focusing on the segment of the market. As long as you stick to that, I think success is more or less given.
Well, I would put my bet on what Bala is saying, because this is coming from a man who designed Mutual Fund Sahi Hai campaign. So thank you so much for that.
सो गौरव पे उसमें मैं कुछ कहूँ, हम लोग पैकेजिंग में मार खा जाते हैं. पहले जब ब्याज बदला कहते थे ना, तो रेगुलेटर ने बोला कि बैंड कर दो, गलत चीज़ है. उसी चीज़ को जब डेरिवेटिव्स, फ्यूचर्स एंड ऑप्शंस ट्रेडिंग करके बोल दिया, तो बोला नहीं नहीं, ये तो बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है, करनी चाहिए. पहले हम लोग खोखा कंपनी की बात करते थे. एक अनलिस्टेड कंपनी को खोखा कंपनी में मर्ज कर दो, लिस्ट हो जाएगी. तो रेगुलेटर ने कहा कि खोखा कंपनी तो गलत चीज़ है, बंद कर दो. उसी चीज़ को गोरे लोग लेके आए, स्पेशल पर्पस एक्विजिशन व्हीकल, स्पैक. अरे क्या चीज़ है, क्या आइटम है, लेके आओ. हम लोग SIP करके बोलते हैं तो लोगों को लगता है कि ये क्या बकवास कर रहे हैं. उसी चीज़ को 401 के प्लान करके बोल दो तो बोलेंगे अरे लेके आओ. जो लोग SIP को गाली दे रहे, वो 401 की आरती उतार रहे हैं. तो कहीं पे ये जो गोरे की गुलामी हमारी जद्दोजहद में घुस गई है, वो तो ये चालू ही रहेगी जब तक वो टी शर्ट निकालने की
आदत निकालना पड़ेगा.
तो वो रहेगा. गोरे की गुलामी है, बाप दादा ने की थी, हम भी कर रहे हैं. उनको पता थोड़ी है कि भारत आज़ाद हो गया है.
Absolutely, build your conviction. I think I'm going to move to gold, because that is seeming to be a very hot topic, in the last few months or quarters. Now, the stellar run continues every day, making new highs. But traditionally, gold was either a hedge against periods of stress or periods of high inflation. Now, today when gold is making new highs, neither the markets believe there is any stress, because markets are also making new highs across the world, nor there is any sign of inflation. While there was expectation that Trump tariffs will increase inflation in US, but it's still to happen. Emerging markets, any which ways the inflation was supposed to go down basis tariffs. India inflation is like, almost lowest what we can even fathom. So are we missing something out here? What is your view on gold as a asset class now?
So there is a biggest conversion happening. The central banks of the world are becoming like Indian housewife. सोना खरीदते जाओ और बेचो मत. एंड दुनिया में इतना सोना नहीं है कि इंडियन हाउसवाइफ और सेंट्रल बैंकर्स दोनों को दे सके. It is this buying by central banks of the world which is pulling gold prices up. And supply कहाँ पे है? The gold mines have gone fairly deep into the earth. The cost of mining gold has also gone up substantially. And every central banker wants to diversify their FX reserves into gold. Now, either there will be a role conversion where Indian housewives start selling gold, then gold prices can come down. Or central bank stops buying gold, then gold prices can come down. अब दो में से क्या होगा देखना है.
Or we have to discover the gold lying in Padmanabha Swami temple in Trivandrum. One doesn't know how much gold is there. If that's true, something is true, and we discover it.
That's
and
like
and then
cornered shareholding, never coming to market.
never coming to market.
No, I think, yeah. So
The
what
same thing happening in silver as well.
Yes,
I think
yes.
mentioned about gold. The silver, you have different kind of rally that also happening. One, of course, central banks are not buying here. But all the new technology-led innovation is coming in, which is the electric vehicles or semiconductor. All of them have got a high usage of silver, so which is also called as industrial metal.
Yes.
So being an industrial metal, and that segment is the one where a significant focus also is coming, whether it is electronic manufacturing, chips, and electric vehicles. Everywhere I think now is becoming the new mantra is coming.
Yeah.
So as the usage from this segment of the industrial activities picks up, then again similar issue that comes in. At least the more the copper you smelter you do, you may also get the zinc of course. Yeah. You also get silver as one of the sub-product. But thing is, how much of the supply would come, how much of the demand comes in. So therefore that metal also is becoming one of the asset class which has now got some acceptance in the last few years because of the change in the dynamics of this industry, which is industrial-based demand which is coming, and therefore that pushes the price.
No, and I think even the current setting where, let's say, 2 quarters back, the expectation was that US economy will substantially slow down because of tariffs, which has not materialized. So now if a pickup in economic activity will happen from this level, I think industrial metals, including silver and copper, will start, building their bull case scenarios going forward. Here's another, more difficult question, and this is a question which is more considered a taboo if I ask, the fund management industry people. It's like shouting bomb in an airplane when you are just taking off. I was watching a video podcast of a gentleman called Dr. Mohammad Appabhai. He's a head of trading desk at Citi, Hong Kong. And he was referring to, in his view, from an Hong Kong perspective, 4 bubbles are under formation. And he termed that as ABCs of bubbles. So one is AI, one is Bitcoin, one is credit in, maybe Chinese and Hong Kong markets, and then China equities. Now, while this is an observation from, let's say, Hong Kong market perspective, but do you believe, are we witnessing any, near bubble formations in Indian markets?
Indian market it doesn't look like, because fortunately we have been, especially AI, we have been investing of course. That is not the bigger capital consuming sectors. The more you read in US, the sector which get the maximum capital investment in US is actually building AI, OpenAI capability.
Yes.
The 2 people are actually great demand, I think, Sal Altman and NVIDIA. These are the 2 are in great demand, because this is a sector where they are making huge capital investment. I don't think you would have ever heard in the past that you make investments in certain technology becomes one of the largest capital investment. I think India is the one which is actually making capital investment in the real assets which actually will produce goods and services. That's even service, of course, is AI, is because services. This is something in a way we ought to also make investment. We don't have a choice. So I cannot say it's a bubble. Definitely it can create, the business model can undergo change. The more the investment is made in AI, the more the human is getting replaced. Then human have to find alternate. Their productivity has to go up. Their productivity has to go up. They have to find a new role that they can play and so on and so forth. This can actually have disruptions, not from the economy point of view, but from a job market point of view. This something is there. Like Bitcoin kind of things where there is no value, we do not know how it's getting speculated. There are speculative assets. Even in Indian market also, I'll tell you, because I remember in 92, 95, the entire, I used to call it as unlisted market. It used to be one of the biggest. Somebody will come and give you a form, just subscribe it, without even realizing how you are going to unlock the value. Sometimes the money will stay, sometimes money will disappear. I think we are coming to the similar kind of thing on the unlisted market. So a lot of people actually now today have got more, more keen in investing in unlisted market than in the listed market. Somewhere the price discovery actually make the worse off. And when it comes to the reality, the price discovery can actually make you a little worse off. Therefore, I see some kind of value reduction in that. But otherwise, from India point of view, none of the things that you mentioned about would potentially have an impact on India in terms of creating bubble. Given the fact that India is actually focusing on more on structurally making the India to the next level, the very fact that the recent GST cut, which is nothing but next round of reform, GST 2 is nothing but next round of reforms, and I think we are structurally focusing on from building infrastructure to the consumption-led growth. This, I think, is sustainable long-term, and some of things may not be applicable for India, but it may be applicable for US, because even the internet bubble did not come from India. The internet bubble came from US only, and high valuations.
Yes.
Therefore, how it will come and hit, who gets hit, one doesn't know. The way I think China also, it's mentioned about China, China already went through companies like Alibaba losing its value by almost 65-70% in the last 4 years. So therefore, those are some of the things could potentially happen, but not for India.
Sure. Nilesh bhai, 2000 was the dot-com bust, originated in US, as just Bala mentioned. 2008 GFC originated in US. 2013 Euro debt crisis originated in Europe. 2020 COVID originated in China, and you also mentioned Wuhan virus. Where will the next crisis originate and when? Typically, in these dates or years, we've seen 5 to 7 years as a gap. From 2020, which was the last COVID crisis, of course, that was not a something man-made or something. Maybe, I'm not speculating on that aspect, but we are already in 2025, right? So 5 years have passed, right? So what is your sense? When and where?
So at country level, it is difficult to figure out where the crisis will come. Who knows, if Ukraine hits Russia hard, crisis can come from there. If Hamas hits Israel hard, crisis can come from there. If Pakistan had not asked for ceasefire, crisis would have come from there also. But we have to think about our journey. And we are seeing there are companies which are like dinosaur. पूंछ पे आँख लगी है, but दिमाग को अब तक मालूम नहीं पड़ा है. Today, an innovative company like Zomato has a bigger market cap than an old and established company like Tata Motors or Hindalco. Market is rewarding innovation. As Bala mentioned, Zoho launched a WhatsApp equivalent, but none of our tech companies have launched that kind of innovation. So, disruption will come for companies which are like dinosaur, not able to adopt, not able to change, not being nimble. They live in the past, and newer company, nimble company, disruptive company will herald the change.
So yes, we have to, figure out our positives and stick with that. And again, that resonates the conviction that we need to keep in our growth story.
One of the areas where we still do not know how it will work out, with the high integral approach we are seeing on the technology side, is one of the risks is being widely talked about, but not seen it, is a cyber attack. Like cyber security is something worldwide, everybody is cautious, and people still, even India also, are saying a lot of this kind of cyber attack comes, and we may probably take it lightly. But if this comes, then it can actually create disruptions in the whole world. I think we have seen your system doesn't operate, your airport goes for a toss for the whole day. Recently, we have seen in London, few of the markets. They're all system-driven kind of things. When it will come, who will generate it, which source in which it will come, one doesn't know. But these are something will remain as $1 million questions. Whether this kind of risk can come and then put the economy for a hold for 2-3 days, of course, yes. That's quite possible.
No, it's a real risk, Bala, and I think, in fact, a couple of days back only, there was a news article which was talking about large language models being now used to generate hacking codes, right? Till now, they were being used to write, normal codes. Now hackers are using LLMs to generate hacking codes and trick people into, getting hacked. So I think, it's a very real risk that you're talking about. Uh, I'm going to pivot to something. Look, both of you are public figures. You speak at many, conferences. So your market views are very, very public. I want to hear something which is not public. Uh, so you've both been at the forefront of the stellar growth of mutual fund industry. In some shape and form, you've also orchestrated it. Uh, Today, when you sit in your boardrooms with your, strategic advisors or, teams handling strategic matters, what are the top 3 opportunities and risks that you are talking about?
So, Gaurav, the first opportunity is how do we ensure that mutual fund industry gets the right amount of talent? There were stalwarts like Prashant Jain. There are many stalwarts even today. But we must ensure that the new generation, the new talent which we attract, is as hardworking, as humble, and as smart as someone which we have produced. If we don't get the right talent, it will be very, very difficult to manage money. It will be very, very difficult to add value. The second is scale up. Mutual funds have done very well. But how many investors we have got? 5.5 crore. And what is the money I have got? My mark-to-market AUM is about 75 lakh crore. But the actual flow which we would have received is not even 25 lakh crore. This is less than the currency in circulation in India. किसी ने आज तक घर पे पैसों के झाड़ उगते देखे नहीं हैं, बट ये सारे लोग बिलीव करते हैं कि करेंसी नोट घर में रखेंगे तो एक न एक दिन पेड़ उग जाएगा. I have to convince all these people that घर पे पैसों के झाड़ नहीं उगेंगे, म्यूचुअल फंड में लगा दीजिए, एनएवी ऊपर नीचे जरूर होगी, बट इवेंचुअली पैसा बनेगा. We have to go from 5 crore to 25 crore and eventually to 50 crore. We have to go from urban to semi-urban to rural. In Bombay's parlance, we have to go from Pedder Road and Nepean Sea Road to Dharavi. Because ultimately, we have to secure every Indian's financial security. So right talent, right scale up, and finally, we will survive in our job if we are adding value. I have to add value in terms of performance, in terms of communication, in terms of managing trust. This is what has helped us reach from nowhere to here. My first fund which I managed was 35 crore. Today, we manage about 6 lakh crore. That journey was possible because we had right intent, right talent, and right scale up. We need to now do it on a much larger scale.
Thank you.
I think what Nilesh is saying is very valid from a talent point of view, because you mentioned about 35 crores, all of us started with zero, and then we are managing large pool of money. But we all have become master of everything. Yeah, we could do right from trading to the investing to the servicing customers to everything that we could do. And today they're all segregated kind of things. There are responsibilities that are divided, and each one are responsible for doing only certain things. Therefore, the knowledge pool that exists in mutual fund industry have to get upgraded quite significantly. It's more about skill set. Second is managing risk. As the volume increases, managing risk is also equally important. It's not about only return. I think if I start only focusing on return, then I may also ignore the risk associated with generating such kind of return, which comes as a part of your setting the expectations. From investor's point of view, I think setting the expectations. I think while industry has been growing, we'll go to about 25 crores customer base. But yeah, return will not come that easily. Return comes only over a period of time, which is what I mentioned about you have to plant a tree for future benefit. And that's something need to be understood, which again making people, we think that okay, people understand the mutual fund industry, but we need still do the hard work of making people aware about how mutual fund operates, how the return can over a period of time. That awareness creation will remain a continuous exercise. Otherwise, the expectations will get set wrongly, and therefore that can lead to some kind of disappointment from an investor satisfaction point of view. These are some of the key areas. And risk is something which I feel that I think will increasingly become paramount for the mutual fund understand. I think as size is becoming larger.
Thanks, Nilesh and Bala. I think with the two of you, hemming your organizations, being absolutely prudent on risk management, looking at the right growth opportunities, not letting anyone go ahead of the fundamentals. I think this is a great recipe for long-term stable wealth creation, and that's why I think we should continue to believe in the growth story that has already started unfolding. And I think we all should participate in that in whatever shape and form that we can. I think we can open up for a couple of questions. We have which we're running late, but if anyone has any questions, maybe Nilesh and Bala can answer. Mike.
Bala has mentioned rightly about the fact that OpenAI and NVIDIA are at the forefront of the value creation and stuff like that. I totally agree with that. So NVIDIA, with the help of the chips, have grown the valuation beyond the $3 trillion. We used to have the semiconductor industry, which was booming. When we had the National Semiconductor Company in Chandigarh, and that got into fire in 1981. After that, we never got back into the race. So of late, the government has been trying to project this segment and then get investments and then moving. But are we too late into this game, and then will it affect our competitive edge compared to the, now if you see chips are being used in everything, right from a smartphone to every nook and corner, like, EVs and everything, like we require them. So how do we see our competitiveness 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, in the context of the overall industry as well as the GDP of India?
Yeah, though I don't have the number per se, but I just happened to listen to one of the semiconductor manufacturing company who's also like you. He's setting up a shop in Maharashtra with about 25,000 crores of investment. And some of the interesting aspects that he mentioned about, I asked him specifically that why are you getting into this business? And he had made some good points. The mobile phone that we use on a daily basis, it consumes about 14 or 15 chips in that. I mean, it's used in the mobile phone. All of us are users of mobile phone. And in the similar manner, the number of chips being used in actually laptop is quite a good number. Even the chips that is being used in electric vehicles, even the old ICE model also uses a lot of, given the automation that is now becoming in the forefront in the automobile sectors, the usage of chips have gone up quite significantly. And his assumption is this will only keep rising as and when more innovation happens using technology. The demand will only keep rising. Except only the challenge that you mentioned about the quality of the chips that you make in India versus what you make in overseas. We can't afford to make mistakes. Our process has to be clean. The raw material that he uses has to be fully able to deliver the expectation that is being set up. Therefore, as long as these two, he is able to take care. And for which he also mentioned about a lot of technology today available which can be imported from overseas. I think it's a joint venture company, the Japan-based company is doing it. Therefore, technology know-how can also come from anywhere in the world and make India as a manufacturing hub. The other advantage which I see from India point of view, as we have always done in the many other products, it can potentially become one of the cheap product compared to that same similar chips available in the global market. Therefore, we make it a competitive advantage. Therefore, we should not be seeing as something is entering late. And the last but not the least, this is the first time ever the government of India is discovering this industry has where 80% risk should be borne by the government. Only 20% risk could be owned by the, whereas in the past, if you see in India, we always used to have the company, the promoter who puts the money in the company used to carry the higher risk and the banks and less of the government. This time actually completely reverse. With this in my view will actually make this industry become one of the successful. Valuation is something we do not know. Hopefully NVIDIA valuation sustains till such time we start producing so that we also get similar valuation in India so that more companies like NVIDIA can be created in India. But this is something is not late. I think it definitely can lead to a better growth potential for India.
Yeah, if it is over, I want to ask another second question.
Yeah.
With this AI, a lot of service sector is going to be impacted, and India has some $280 billion IT services. So how do you see, have you created any models of like how AI is going to impact service sector and how Indian GDP is going to get impacted because of that, and what substitute is going to take over to cover up that GDP deficit, or, have you seen the top?
AI will result into job losses. When typewriters came, jobs of typists disappeared. But people who knew computer, their jobs increased. So it all depends upon us how we leverage AI. We met a BPO company who is leveraging AI today to service non-English speaking population. Earlier, they were only servicing English-speaking population. Now they are servicing non-English-speaking population. Their business has actually gone up. If we can get more Luna kind of entrepreneurs, we will create many tools leveraging AI which will deliver cheaper, better, faster solution to the world. So we need another set of Narayan Murthy, Azim Premji, Shiv Nadar, FC Kohli, who can harness AI and deliver better, cheaper, faster solutions. So it's an opportunity as well as a threat. If we behave like dinosaur, there is no hope for us. But if we leverage this opportunity, the world is our domain.
Yeah, in addition to that, it will also force people to upgrade their skills. So they can actually be more useful using AI rather than getting redundant using AI. Which also most organizations today are taking those kind of steps. So they keep them with great understanding so that their productivity levels can go up. I think India is one country where I think productivity level can go up quite significantly.
I mean, let me ask a question. How many of you have heard name of Dr. Gurtej Singh Sandhu? किसी ने नहीं सुना होगा. He is the gentleman who has more patents than Thomas Alva Edison in US. And he is the guy who is behind Micron, the semiconductor chip company. अब एक हम तो टैलेंट होती है उसको बाहर भेज देते हैं. दूसरा बाहर कुछ कर ले तो हम याद भी नहीं रखते कि अपने बच्चों का रोल मॉडल बन सके. दूसरा एक सांडू पैदा हो जाए यहाँ पे. तो माइंडसेट चेंज की जरूरत है.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to sum it up, this discussion. Mindset change की ज़रूरत है. There's enough innovation happening, courage and conviction to take off your shirt and swing it around is just needed in front of the Goras. And I think if you look at it, it's been happening in some shape and form, right? The way we've handled the bullying on tariffs, it has happened. The way Operation Sindoor has gone by, it has happened. Way we dealt with China a couple of years back, it happened. So I think it's happening. It's a metamorphosis, slow, steady, and one fine day I'm sure the world will look at us in a different way altogether. Till that time, I think SIP सही है. अपना डॉलर कॉस्ट एवरेजिंग कर लेते हैं. जब ट्रिगर आएगा तो फिर रिवैल्यूएशन हो जाएगा.
I think in the beginning you mentioned about, you asked a question to the audience. Hyderabad referring to the mutual fund industry, AEM you mentioned. The DRDO sits in Hyderabad. It's one of the oldest organization, and today the most successful organization in creating the defense equipment, which also was used actually in the Operation Sindoor. The power of DRDO, we may not even realize it, but it became one of the most powerful organizations. Sometimes I was joking with somebody that if they go for listing, since the defense stocks are also commanding a premium today, they can get actually a huge amount of listing market cap. So that's why they have progressed in the last few years, thanks to Prime Minister Modi initiative of making India's defense and the manufacturing self-sufficient.
Thank you, Bala and Nilesh. With that, we come to an end of this panel discussion. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and thank you everyone for being here.